Why does a man abandon everything he owns? Fame, money, students, a warm bed. By the time Miyamoto Musashi reached the age of 60, he was a living legend. He could have died on silk pillows in a lord's palace if he wanted. But he chose to climb to the Reigondo cave in the mountains of Kyushu. He took only his brush, his papers, and his 2 swords. When he entered the cave, an invisible door closed behind him. That door was the door between the world and nothingness. Inside it was cold, damp, dark. There was no comfort, no applause, no enemies. There was only the most terrifying opponent, himself. People think that seclusion is peaceful. No, seclusion is where the mind screams. The silence is so intense that you hear your own blood flow. Musashi entered that cave as a human, with his flesh, bone, ego, memories. But what came out of that cave 2 years later was not a human. He was the shape of the wind. He was the void. The first months were torture. When Musashi sat down to meditate, his mind attacked him. The faces of the more than 60 men he killed appeared before his eyes. The screams of the Yoshioka clan, Sasaki Kojiro's last look, they were all echoing off the cave walls. Hunger was gnawing at his body. Cancer, thought to be stomach cancer, was eating his internal organs. A normal person would have gone mad at this point. They would have run out of the cave, taking refuge in human voices and light. But Musashi did not run. He sat and he watched. All those terrible memories, regrets, pains, he watched them just like clouds. He didn't fight them. He didn't suppress them. He just allowed them to pass. As months passed, Musashi's body wasted away. His skin stuck to his bones, but the light in his eyes began to shine like a star. He no longer felt hunger. He no longer felt cold. His mind had transcended the limits of the body. In the pitch darkness inside the cave, he could see the sunrise. When he took his sword in his hand, the sword felt not like metal, but like light. He began to write. He wrote, "The Book of 5 Rings, Go-Rin no Sho." But he wrote this book not with ink, but with a distilled version of his soul. In that cave, the ego that said, "I am Miyamoto Musashi," died. Only a pure consciousness beating with the rhythm of the universe remained. Blaise Pascal says, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." Why are we so afraid of loneliness? Because when we are alone, our masks fall off. Our job, our title, our social media profile, these do not exist in the cave. There is only you and the darkness, and that darkness is a mirror. If you are empty inside, the darkness shows you your emptiness. If you have unresolved traumas inside, the darkness shows you your monsters. Modern science might call what Musashi did sensory deprivation. When no data comes from outside, the brain turns inward, and it starts deleting the unnecessary files, ego, fear, anxiety inside. This is a painful process. This is a formatting operation. Musashi reset himself. He didn't return to factory settings. He returned to divine settings. His power came not from his muscles, but from that smooth silence in his mind. Where is our cave today? Unfortunately, we have no cave. We live in an amusement park. Constant light, constant sound, constant dopamine. We even go to the toilet with our phones. We cannot tolerate staying with ourselves for even a second. That is why we are weak. That is why we are depressed. Our mind never stops, never rests, never experiences nothingness. If you want to get stronger like Musashi, you must create micro caves for yourself. 1 hour a day, just 1 hour. Turn off the phone. Turn off the music. Silence the people. Look at a blank wall or the ceiling. You will get bored. Your hand will reach for the phone. Your mind will scream, "Entertain me," it will say. "Endure." That boredom is where healing begins. In that silence, creativity is born. In that silence, you remember who you really are. Let that noisy world stay outside. You build your own empire inside. The final chapter of Musashi's book is the Coup the Void chapter. Westerners call this nothingness and fear it. They think it means ceasing to exist. However, In the East, the void means potential. A full cup cannot take more water. But an empty cup can take everything. Musashi made himself nothing, meaning he erased the arrogance that said, "I am invincible." He erased the helplessness that said, "I am afraid." He made his mind a clean slate. In this way, he could instantly reflect every move of his opponent onto that page. Nothingness is formlessness. If you have a form, a shape, an obsession, a style, you are predictable. But if you are nothing, you cannot be caught. When Musashi came out of that cave, he no longer had a style. He was everything and nothing. This is true mastery, not possessing something, but giving up everything to be whole. At the end of 2 years, a man came down from Raigondo Cave. His hair and beard were matted. His clothes were in tatters. He leaned on his cane as he walked. But those who looked into his eyes, they did not see a human in those eyes. They saw an infinite ocean in those eyes. When people called him master, he just smiled, because titles no longer mattered. He had won his war. Not the war with the enemy, but the war with himself. You, when will you enter your own cave? When will you silence that noise and face that real voice inside you? Do not fear. Loneliness does not kill you. Loneliness kills you and gives birth to you again. Close the door, turn off the light, and let the darkness tell you who you are.